Episode 192 of the TV Dudes podcast, recorded July 19th, 2018. Get out of my dreams. Get into my car.
Billy Ocean, ladies and gentlemen.
Get out of my life. I don't know what the rest of the song is.
We don't know the words.
Folks.
I really went for it there.
That was good. It's awesome.
The theme goes on.
I'm so happy with this week's title.
I'm not sure how well it fits everything, but I think we're going to crowbar it in.
It fits everything. First of all, okay, we're talking about comedians in cars getting coffee. That's obvious. Cars.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. And then we're talking about Who is America, and that is about getting out of the falling American dream that we are in and getting back into the American dream. So you gotta get out of the failing dream and get into the good dream.
So it's a dream hopping thing.
It's a dream hopping thing, kind of like it's like what's that movie? The Dreamscape. It's Dreamscape, but modern and narrated by Billy Ocean.
Work your way out of that hole, baby. Keep doing it.
And then we're also going to be talking a little bit about Vida.
Mike's got that one covered. Mike, what's Vida have to do with the song?
What is it? Get out of my dreams, get into my car?
Yep.
The only thing I can say related to Vida is that under this administration, the Mexican-American household in the U.S. is being crushed. So their dreams are being crushed. Does that work?
They're getting out of the dream. They're getting out of their dreams and getting into the car.
Oh no! The car is. Yeah, I'll just stop there.
It's Get Out Dreamers is actually what the title of the song is.
That actually is the Trump administration's full plan.
Billy Ocean, that's fucked up. We do not roll with that.
That's right.
Folks, we are the TV Dudes. I'm Grant.
I'm Randy.
And you can just say your name.
You've been on this show a few times.
I've been here. Yeah, I'm Mike.
Fine. Special guest, Mike Moody.
Hello.
Founder of Permanent Record Industries.
Permanent Record Industries.
Where we make all the widgets. Industries, yes.
All the widgets.
All the podcasting widgets.
All the podcasting widgets.
Founder of the Electric Sweater Network.
Electric Sweater!
Does not get old.
It's constantly alternating, though. It's not consistent.
No, it can't be the same. I'm too drunk for it to be consistent.
I don't know how I feel about this. And a fellow podcaster himself, you do a really awesome Star Trek podcast.
Yeah, I do. It's pretty good. I have two amazing co-hosts,
and
both of which are not here today. And Grant's on the show as well.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
One of your co-hosts is now working at NASA.
I know. So we've lost her permanently.
So I guess, Grant, what I would say is, what's wrong with you? Why have you not gone on to work at NASA?
Yeah, I'm dumb.
I thought it was a launching pad, if you will.
I'm failure to launch. I'm Matthew McConaughey of our podcast, and not in a good way. Yeah, I'll just take off my shirt. That's about all I can contribute to that podcast.
Well, it's Star Trek Discovery Pod is a podcast.
That's right. The Star Trek Discovery Pod. You also do the Mr. Robot O podcast, and you've done a couple other different podcast series. You are podcast prolific.
I got nothing else to do.
Oh, man. We need to give you another job. That's the
Have you considered working for NASA?
No, I don't think they'll take me. I'm dumber than Grant.
We should go into business together.
That's a great idea.
Like you guys should start a studio or something.
Yeah, we did. It's called Dumb Leading the Dumb.
It's called We're Making No Money. And we owe everybody in town.
Folks, before we get into the main gist of the show, the main crux of the show, the main word of the show. I'm fishing here. We do want to do a couple plugs. First off, if you guys want to help us out, go to iTunes, give us that 5-star rating, write a little review. If this is your first time ever listening to a podcast, that is a fairly standard, great thing you can do for any podcast. So all the podcasts you go listen to, go help them out. Go support them on whatever podcast listening device you are listening to it on.
But do ours first.
Yeah, do ours first.
Who is the person who's never listened to a podcast and is scrolling through all the podcasts on the earth and says, TV dudes?
That guy's out there. They're out there. They're out there.
This shall be the first one. My mom. My mom. This is probably the first podcast she listened to.
Fair point. Fair point.
But has she given us a 5-star review?
I don't know. Mom, come on. Help me out here. Another way you guys can help us out is patreon.com/tvdudes. There you can make a per episode pledge. What does that mean? That means you're pulling out your mom's credit card and you're going over to the computer.
Or your dad's credit card, or, a shifty uncle.
Don't be misogynist, Randy.
Right. What?
Pull out that credit card and go ahead and give us $1 an episode. You only get charged if we release an episode, and that's only our main episodes. We also do a bunch of supplemental content. We'll do little interviews here and there that we're releasing. I think Les was giving me so many that I started crying and I told him to stop. But yeah, we do special bonus episodes for all of our patrons. So if you go to patreon.com/tvdudes and you sign up today to kick us $1 an episode, $4 a month, and show us that love, we show you some love back in the form of ridiculous 30-minute podcasts that we will discuss. What do we discuss, Randy?
This week we have a title. We don't have the subject yet, but we have a title.
What's the title?
I've forgotten.
Well, that's great, Randy. That's what a great wingman you are.
I was hoping one of you guys would remember.
All right, it's a Billy Ocean song. It's a side B of "Get Out of My Dreams."
Yeah, we're gonna find the side B. We're gonna name it that, and then we're gonna do a topic based on that.
That's actually a great idea. I'll look it up.
All right, we're gonna move on. We have one more note here. We want to promote our buddy Nick Tice.
Nick Tice.
Nick Tice.
No, it's thighs.
Nick Thighs.
White, creamy Nick Thighs.
That's right.
I mean, that is his nickname from now on. But
he is pretty pale, so I feel like white, creamy Nick Thighs or Nick Thighs. That works.
He's going to be in town.
I don't know how comfortable I am with this.
Yeah, he's going to be on our show next week, and he might choke me.
He might
for all the mispronunciations of his name
with his milky thighs.
Oh, tune in to the video show next week, folks.
Dream come true. Get out of my dreams and onto my neck. This is a weird promo I'm doing for you. He does the UGO podcast, also called the Unapologetic Geek Out podcast, and they're going to be running a booth here in Austin this upcoming week, which is going to be July 27th through 29th here in Midtown Austin. They're going to be at the Holiday Inn at the Anime Austin Festival. So come on down. You guys can hang out with them. They're going to be playing some games, and you guys can join in on all the stuff. They're going to have some prizes. It's going to be pretty cool.
What's the room number there at the Holiday Inn?
Well, I don't think it gives like a...
You can find them in the vendor hall. You have to look for their mascot, Isabel the Derpy Dragon.
There you go.
Yeah, but we want to take things a step further.
Right.
I want a key card.
You guys know how to properly pronounce his name now, so just go ask at the front desk. Say you forgot your key card.
Go to the front and say, "I'm looking for the man with the milky thighs."
Oh, gross.
And you will get an answer. It is probably going to come from security.
That part of town, yeah.
Randy, speaking of milky thighs, I think it's time for the news.
Okay.
Oh, God, no.
How's that for a transition?
Not the news.
That was terrible.
It's no segue.
What are you going to lead off with here, Randy?
All right.
'Cause it's all bad.
Speaking of milky thighs and things that are just awful to think about, there's a new trailer for Titans, which is the big launch of DC's streaming network. Like this is like one of the flagships. There's a live action Titan show.
I thought this was going to be the dessert. I thought this was going to be the last story you hit.
Well, you started with milky thighs and had to go to something disturbing. And the only thing more disturbing than the notion of weird milky thighs is this awful, awful trailer.
I have not seen a single person watch that and then comment, "Ooh, this looks good," yet.
It's embarrassing. It's like watching a kid try to prove how grown up they are by swearing. Mm-hmm. It's so terrible.
It's like it feels like a Berlanti show that's trying to be grimdark. Berlanti show in that the production value is not really high,
right,
and fake grimdark. It just looks so awful.
It feels like what Zack Snyder would put on his YouTube channel.
Yes.
It's so awful.
Well, it feels like a College Humor video almost.
Yeah, it does. It feels like parody. It's so dark that it feels like parody of the DC darkness.
Yeah.
So we get introduced to Robin Dick Grayson.
Robin, fuck Batman.
When he kills a bunch of guys and says, fuck Batman.
He's in the alleyway fighting them, and he goes, fuck Batman. And it's so corny. I just started laughing at that point, and I had laughed all the way through the rest of it.
What's amazing about this is there is no point. There have been 4 Robins. 4 male Robins. There's also been Stephanie Brown. And there's also, from the future, I've forgotten her name, Carrie Kelly. But none of those Robins, not one of them, has ever said fuck Batman. Not even Jason Todd. Like, there's never been a point at which that made any sense.
This is Grayson, right? This is
Grayson.
Okay, Grayson, your parents died. This rich man took you in and taught you how to be a superhero.
Yeah, fuck
you don't
that
say
guy.
fuck that guy.
But there was a notable falling out between them, like in a couple different iterations of the comic book series, where he leaves, and that's why he kind of strikes out on his own, becomes Nightwing and all that.
But
right?
he gave him a motorcycle.
Well, it's the least that billionaire could do after taking in a boy ward. It's a little weird, dude.
Dick Grayson is never the guy who's darker than Batman. Robin is never the guy who's darker than Batman. He's supposed to have a difference with him because of how grim he is.
We have not seen how dark Batman is here.
Oh, God.
Batman might be just like cutting himself and like masturbating on all the victims.
Batman doesn't actually.
We don't know how dark this goes.
Batman doesn't use batarangs. He throws live kittens at the villains.
Just mutilating corpses.
Yes.
And
Do we know if Batman's going to be a character on the show?
I don't think so. I think just by inference.
He's basically become Zaz, but he's like marking himself with shit stains on his body. That's the new dark, gritty Batman of this universe.
This is so terrible. This is so bad. And the thing is, like, this is their launch for their big streaming. Like, they're asking people to pay for this. This isn't tune into CW and watch our show shit itself. This is give us money to watch us shit ourselves.
Well, with this new DC streaming service, part of it, I was excited about it for a minute because it's like, oh, they're going to have the entire catalog of Batman the Animated Series. I'll pay $8 a month for that, plus maybe some new content they're going to put out. But if this is indicative of the new content, I'm not paying that.
Well, and they're also like, they're going to have Young Justice Season 3, which I'm super excited for.
Right.
But this actively puts me off. Like, I don't want to spend any money on their subscription stuff. And they did announce the price details. They are going to launch in fall 2018, $74.99 for a year.
Right.
So you have to pay a whole year to get this thing?
I think there's options. I think it's $7.99 a month or $74 a year. I could be wrong.
Fucked up.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
So this is a garbage show. Can I do a thing?
Yeah.
I when I watched this, I was like, okay, where is this going to land? I'll at least maybe check out the pilot one day when I'm really drunk, because I'll probably put that up for free, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
So I was like, what will I have to put off the shelf in terms of TV to watch this? So I was like, okay, here are the shows I would rather watch than this show. So this was way down. So I would rather watch Suits, NBC's Taken, 9JKL on CBS, whatever the fuck that is. That episode of The Sun that Grant was in.
Oh, yeah. Damn, dude. You better watch that. Everyone.
Hashtag still no SGA card. And Sean Hannity.
Oh.
I'd watch all that stuff before this.
Yikes.
Well, Hannity.
Yeah, I think I watched Titans before Hannity, but that's you've found the bar. Congratulations.
Here's where I land on this. If there are still DC film and TV fans out there, well, I mean, I guess the Berlanti fans exist. But I was gonna say, I don't feel so bad about their money being taken. The DC film fans, at least, I'm like, the people that like that and want more of this kind of stuff. Yeah, be poorer.
Oh man, I don't know.
Give me money to this project.
I don't know who this is for. I even think this is too stupid to be for the people who like Batman, Superman. This is ridiculous. It looks worse than Batman versus Superman.
This show is for all the people I block on Twitter.
So DC streaming service, better or worse potential than Walmart's streaming service?
Go on.
Walmart is launching a streaming service deliberately planning to compete with Netflix.
Why has no one bought my scripts? They're putting out
Just make it
original programming everywhere.
make it a little more racist, and you got a shot with this Walmart streaming service.
Yeah, so they're saying now the interesting thing is Walmart acquired Vudu, not the Magic Practice, but the VUDU video, which is where a lot of us have like our ultraviolet digital copies. So they do have a library to offer.
Yeah.
In fact, that library is potentially much bigger than Netflix's film library. But Netflix hasn't been a film place for a long time. Netflix, for the most part, is where people go to watch TV now.
Yeah.
So Walmart is considering introducing a service that would cost $8 per month, and it says it's also possible they would launch a free ad-supported video service. I don't know what that means. I don't know why anyone...
You can watch it as long as you watch the ads. You can watch it for free, kind of like how Hulu started.
Oh, maybe. Eee.
So what kind of programming is it like coming this summer? James Woods is Sam Walton in the Make America Great Again story.
Yes, it's all going to be Tim Allen and Jeff Foxworthy and Jeff Dunham.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys. Mel Gibson's going to have a show.
This sounds like great news for a hurting white upper class male demographic.
Yeah,
Which we'll all get there soon. That's the plan, right? We're all supposed to be rich white men.
Crossing my fingers.
That's how it works.
I don't understand why Walmart would launch. I mean, anyone launching to compete against Netflix, you're kind of asking to get your ass kicked. Why would you do this?
I mean, if PlayStation couldn't pull it off, guys, what makes you think Walmart's gonna?
Oh, you don't think PlayStation Network's still going to get there, going to go? You don't think it's still...
I think the headline of this saying, to rival Netflix, is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Well, I've been to Walmart lately, and I do believe that there is a class of people who gets all of their media, food, and information from Walmart.
Yeah.
So that's who this is marketed to.
This is digital red box.
Yeah.
I don't know.
YouTube is one of the last places that actually is competing with Netflix. Their YouTube Red is actually, so far, they've produced some interesting content.
Cobra Kai?
Cobra Kai was really good.
Cobra Kai's
And then they
fun.
did Impulse. That was their sci-fi one, which has gotten a season 2 order. So I guess it did well enough.
What is Impulse? Because when I hear Impulse and TV, I think of The Flash, because that's what they called him on Smallville.
So this is based on the
Jumper series.
The Jumper series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's Doug Lamont was the guy who sort of show ran it. And
Doug Liman from who did the movie? Okay. Shit movie, but he's a good director.
I did not. Yeah, he's a good director.
Yeah.
I did not love this show. And I talked about how ridiculous it was that there were all these people writing for the show, which was stupid because that's true of all shows. But it does not change the fact that I didn't like the show.
The show had writers?
The show had, like, I was complaining that there were 8 different writers for 8 different episodes, and someone pointed out rightly, they're like, "Yeah, Randy, that's fucking every TV show."
That's how
And they were 100% right. That was a dumb complaint.
That's how TV works, TV critic.
That was a dumb complaint. I was looking for reasons to dislike the show because
Alan
I disliked the
Sepinwall's
show.
not going to be your friend anymore after a statement like that.
You know what? I saw Alan Sepinwall was shitting a lot on Westworld.
Yeah.
I guess
A
he
lot
didn't-
of critics turned on Westworld.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't like the first season even, but then he just also was like, "What a sophomore slump."
Was
And
his
I'm like,
was his review like, "It just doesn't look like anything to me"?
I was like, "What's wrong with them?" Because I'm in the right. I love that show, and I'm in the right.
Well, one of us is a robot, and I'm not a robot. You're not a robot, so clearly, Alan's a robot.
Sepinwall's a robot.
Yeah, it's
and
propaganda. It's robot propaganda.
He doesn't want us finding out, so he's trying to shut down the show.
Exactly. That's the only thing that makes sense.
Guys, do robots have dicks?
Yes.
All robots have dicks.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the Iron Giant, huge dick.
I just came to ask that. I'm out.
Anyway, Impulse is getting a second season, since that's what we were just talking about. And they also have a new sci-fi series called Origin, which has a pretty weak trailer.
Well, the problem with the trailer is they're continuing this trend of taking a really poppy, fun pop song from like the 80s and 90s, but using a grim, dark version of it. So
Yeah.
everything seems slightly familiar, but also darker and moody.
Yeah.
And that's just become a trope at this point.
Yeah.
Sweet dreams are made of these.
And it's a bizarre love triangle, right? Is what
Oh,
they're
yeah.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's got Tom Felton,
Yeah.
who played Draco Malfoy. He's now old, and now he's in space.
He looks
Dude.
like Robert Carlyle.
Yeah, he went from 20 to 50 fast.
Yeah.
The production values look great.
It does look really good. I didn't really get a sense for the dramatics. There wasn't a lot of dialogue in the trailer, but in terms of the visuals, it looks pretty top notch.
The series will be directed by Paul W.S. Anderson.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no! He of Underworld fame.
Yes,
Right?
and
So the action might be kind of cool too.
didn't he? Am I thinking? Is he also the dude who did like the Wing Commander movie?
I think so. Yeah,
Have no expectations though for quality acting or cogent plot.
Right.
Lots of 90s fast MTV cutting.
All right. Finally, and this is probably the weird one to stop, but Hulu has put the first images of Sean Penn's Mars drama up online, and there's not a lot to be seen. It's like people in rooms wearing normal clothes.
I just didn't know much about this show itself. There's this new Mars show that Sean Penn is doing with Hulu.
Yeah, so it's a crew of astronauts trying to become the first humans on Mars.
And what's it called?
The First.
The First.
Yeah. I'm kind of excited about this. I actually love the idea of them doing sort of a Martian. It's like a Martian prequel, essentially. It's about the first manned Mars mission.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Is it based on an existing property? Do we know?
It doesn't seem to be. It seems to be an original story. And I don't remember who actually is running it, but it's coming out in September. So
I'm down, man. Hulu has not been disappointing with the dramas lately.
No.
Except for second season of Handmaid's Tale.
I'm into it though. I have to space those episodes out because I do actually it's not even a joke. I do get depressed watching that show. So I have to space them out, but it's so good.
It's so brutal though. It's just unrelenting. Give us something, some glimmer of hope.
So, I find that if you watch Fox News and then watch The Handmaid's Tale, it feels like Handmaid's Tale was much more optimistic and realistic. It seems to take place in a more real world I recognize.
I feel like when I watch Fox News, I don't think that they are being a bummer. I feel like they're delusional or just straight up lying. I think that's kind of a difference. This is just brutal.
Yeah,
and
it is.
depressing.
It's pretty depressing. One last thing about The First. It is from Beau Willimon, who did House of Cards.
Oh, okay.
And who is I didn't love House of Cards, but every time I see Beau Willimon speak at ATX TV Fest, I'm like, this is a smart guy who knows TV.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm glad that he's able to wrap up House of Cards and kind of wash his hands of dealing with Kevin Spacey. Now he's got a much more stable guy with a clean record like Sean Penn. Surely Sean Penn and the skeletons in his closet won't come out. Holy shit.
And Sean Penn is going to Spacey.
Uh-huh.
Fucking break. All right, folks, we are going to talk first about Vida, which is the first season is out over on Starz. It is 6 episodes. It is telling the story of two sisters who return back to their hometown in LA where their mother has just recently passed away and they've inherited an apartment building in a poor section of town, and they are
East LA. Yeah.
in East LA, and they're now trying to figure out what to do with the building, how they reconnect with their roots, reconnect with their culture. This is it's a pretty interesting show. Now, Mike, you watched some of this as well, and you were kind of pointing us in the direction of checking this out. So I'll let you kind of take the lead about discussing this.
Yeah, okay. I recognize that maybe this isn't I'm about halfway through the first season, and I like this show mainly because I am three of my grandparents are first-generation Mexican-American. I grew up in South Texas in the Rio Grande Valley in a community much like the one depicted in Vida. People slip in and out of Spanish and English, lots of code switching going on. That culture was all around me and very heavily influenced who I am today. And what I see in Vida for the first time in a long time is a show that is close to accurately depicting the diversity of the Mexican American experience. The way I saw it and grew up with it, there are women on this show who look like, talk like, act like the women who I grew up around and the women who I know and who are my cousins and when I go back home. And, there's shows like Jane the Virgin, that have really good representations of the Latinx experience as well. But with something like Jane the Virgin, you get more of a poppy, soap opera, bubbly kind of atmosphere. Vida, right. Even though Vida does have its genre tropes, I think it's aiming for something a little more realistic, and I think that's something to be applauded. I think it's doing great, even though the two lead characters, are kind of assholes and kind of hard to like.
That's one of my initial complaints to you as well. I was like, I'm fascinated. I think this is like a slice of life that I don't get to see depicted a lot in a lot of my media. And I think there's a lot of loving reverence paid to a lot of the culture. There's these particular little scenes that the director will do where they'll like kind of break away, like show the process of making these carnitas tacos
and all that's accurate.
Yeah, and like that like looks really good. I'm like salivating watching that. Show these little social gatherings and how people cluster in their different groups. Show the different issues being addressed by different social classes, even within the same neighborhood and
there's
culture.
The spectrum of the Mexican American experience is on display on this show.
Yeah,
it's great,
and it does a fantastic job there. And I think what I was having a little bit of difficulty with in the beginning, first 2 episodes, was that it was hard to like the 2 lead characters because they're both very self-absorbed and they're both really shitty to each other. One is like very fake toward everyone, and the other one is just like outright hostile all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to follow you two. I want to follow Eddie, and Eddie is the lesbian partner of their mother that they found out about, who they thought was just a roommate. Right. Turns out their mother was married to Eddie, and
Eddie's a great character.
Eddie was fantastic, and just like showed such a powerful range of both emotions and restraint in all these scenes that just like I immediately identify in weird ways with you, and that's the narrative I want to follow. But I think it's a tale of 2 sisters kind of returning home and a reckoning there, I guess.
It's a redemption tale. As the series goes on, these 2 women who enter the story as assholes and are forced to come back to this old community that they rejected for reasons we find out later, they start to realize that rejecting this community that they thought was, how we all kind of leave our small hometowns and want to move to the big city, and sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. Right. Here they realize they're just not finding what they're looking for away from this community, and they're learning to live in this community again that raised them, and they're identifying or learning to celebrate the spectrum of diversity that is in this community. Now they're a big part of the story is fighting against gentrification because they inherited this building. The threat of gentrification is very heavy in this series, which with a community show depicting a community like this is going to be a hot topic. So I really respond to the themes in this. I think they're very 2018 themes. Also, the show fucks.
Like it shows fucking. Yeah.
Yes.
I like that the scenes they show of sex are, well, I was going to say It ranges, but I was gonna say it's female empowering, which is a little bit unique. Like they'll show the men naked, or they'll show the women getting serviced. I don't know how best to like frame that, but like it's kind of a shift in the lens.
It's not a male gaze.
Yeah, it isn't, and it's also a very female voice dominated show, which is refreshing to see as well. So like in those regards, I really applaud it. I think that there's something about this show. It reminds me a lot of 6 Feet Under with the initial plot structure of these. In 6 Feet Under, the two brothers have to take over the family business because their dad dies at the mortuary, and here the two sisters are taking over the family business of the apartment complex.
Yeah,
and I see the parallels there. Like this one is devoid of a lot of the quirks that I found just personally draw me in a little bit quicker to that show.
This feels like a stepping stone show.
Right.
I think it's going to be good, but it's one of those shows where we're going to look back on it as
this is where all those geniuses came from.
Maybe influencing the culture in terms of telling more diverse stories about different cultures on TV, different American cultures.
Right.
Randy, you're being very silent.
So I want to watch this, but I don't have Stars, and also I forgot to watch it this week.
I forgot to give you the account. Okay, sorry.
But at the very least, you're missing some really pretty great performances from the three leads, the two sisters and the actress who plays Eddie.
Well, I saw both the showrunner and the music supervisor were at ATX TV Fest.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed with what they had to say, and it definitely put Vida on my radar. And yeah, I meant to watch it this week, and it just kind of time got away from me. But I do want to check this out.
Yeah, the creator, Tanya Sriracha, we got to see her over at ATX Fest. And yeah, it was fascinating listening to her talk about this show.
And she's fairly young, and this is her first show, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, she's really young.
The first season, like I said, is only 6 episodes, and the next season is already been renewed. It's going to debut sometime early next year, I believe. So yeah,
here's
put it on your radar.
Related question: does Star stuff ever show up anywhere? Or do you have to buy Does Amazon have a second run deal with them?
Amazon does have a collaboration deal if you have Prime.
It's an Amazon channel that you can buy.
But you have to buy it, right? There's like if you're one of these hold the line, I'm not buying any extra channels.
Yeah.
None of that stuff. Like Black Sails, none of the older ones even came to streaming.
Now the way I get it is I buy the channel as a subscription on Prime.
Are you disappointed that Black Sails never made it?
No, I was trying to think of one that was older. And I don't think any of them.
We might end up seeing Billions get picked up by some other streaming service as well.
But that's Showtime.
Oh,
I get Stars.
Yeah, Spartacus. Spartacus was on Netflix for a while. I feel like, and then it went away.
The Brian Fuller Show. Not Spartacus.
American Gods.
American Gods.
And what's weird is that it seems weird to me in this time and age to hold your content back like that.
Yeah.
I know Star Trek Discovery is not going anywhere because CBS All Access is doing the same thing, but this seems like a weird thing for Stars. They've got stuff that could break out. Like Vida definitely feels like a show that could break out, but
it does feel ghettoized because it's behind this paywall.
Because you're not going to seek it out. Mm-hmm. It needs to cross at least put Vida out somewhere where people can see it and might run across it. It's a weird thing. It's kind of like when CW made their app and everybody could watch their shows for free. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, people probably discovered those shows. Even if it's not all of it, put some of it out there for people to sample. It's a little weird.
It's like reverse gentrification. You're putting a wall up.
I will say, in the case of Vida, you can stream the first episode for free still.
Is it on? You can get it on YouTube or?
I think you can get it on YouTube, iTunes, and Prime.
Good to know.
All right, guys, let's jump over to talking about some other comedies. These are not necessarily a narrative.
They're not.
First off, we're going to talk about the brand new Sasha Baron Cohen comedy, Who is America? This got a lot of buzz.
Free advertising
just from a bunch of
from dummies,
the victims of his pranks and interviews. Realizing that they're about to be put on the spot and putting out early press release.
Thank you, Sarah Palin, for all the push you gave Sasha Baron Cohen. That's really great.
So this is over on Showtime, and this is going to be Sasha Baron Cohen releasing up to, I think, 6 new characters that he's going to rotate in and out of to kind of catch American politicians and socialites and just upscale business people off guard and try and find something revealing about American culture and where it's gone lately.
Now, before we get too deep into this, can I get a general read on you guys? Did you like this?
I laughed at a few of the segments, especially the last one about gun control. But I feel like largely the narrative on this is, does this style of comedy even work anymore? And I think I kind of side with that critical consensus. A lot of the critics are just like, do we need this? Is this adding anything to the culture? And is it worth a few chuckles? I don't know.
That's where I came down to. I laughed. Like, I definitely laughed at more than one. Like, there were laughs in, I think, every single segment. But I left it feeling like it was irresponsible.
Irresponsible?
Yeah, I left like feeling this is reinforcing the negative stereotypes to the other side. Yeah. Whether it's his crazy liberal character, or his Israeli military guy getting the. I mean, the thing is, like, you can say it's ridiculous to go in and get all these congressmen to agree to arm toddlers, but they're going to fucking make policy based on that because they don't know the difference between reality and fiction.
Okay.
Like, it's irresponsible because they think it puts ideas in their head, and I no longer think anything is too ridiculous.
It's just because obviously we're so divided as a country now. Yeah. Everybody's just playing to their base.
Yeah.
And it feels like no matter how biting and cutting and revealing the satire he's going to do on this show is, it's not really going to change many minds.
Right. What is the goal? Is the goal to change minds? Is the goal to hold up the absurdity of the positions in the idea of getting people to think, oh, my positions are ridiculous? Because that's not going to happen.
Or is it just lols?
Is it just get cheap laughs? In which case, like I say, it's irresponsible.
This is absurd.
Yeah.
I was amused and amazed at the wit and comedic timing that Sasha Baron Cohen still has.
Of course.
Undeniably funny.
He had this particular conversation where he was talking from this just cartoonishly liberal perspective of a character, where he started going. He was reading how he could just like weave this story, and he starts going into how he's married to, or his wife is cuckolding him with a dolphin.
I was dying. It's really funny.
It's so stupid. But the reactions that he was getting from his guests, and the fact that the husband was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But the wife was like, now honey, now dear. And she kept stopping him.
Yeah.
That whole dynamic was amazing. And that he was able to find that moment and be able to capitalize on it is just so impressive. And that's so indicative of what his true skill is.
Yeah.
Yes.
That being said, his characters are terrible.
Yeah.
The makeup department is bad on every single one of them.
That shit looks fake as fuck.
Ollie G and Borat and Bruno all looked really good.
Yeah.
Like, they just looked like him with a little bit of like facial hair added in or whatever. And like, that looks good. Here he's actively trying to disguise himself so much that he's wearing fat suits and he looks like Jiminy Glick and shit.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just no good.
The other thing, the thing about the liberal one, the one that really bothered me, is that the two sort of super right-wing Trump voting normal people, like, he didn't go after
you don't
politicians.
like that they come off looking better.
They came off as like the most understanding.
They were very polite.
They're putting up, and here's the damage that gets done. They think they have just confirmed every bias they have about liberals. Every bias they have about the worst of liberals is confirmed by this bullshit character he created. That's damaging.
Yeah, he's just kind of poking the bear there with no real outcome in mind.
It's interesting, too, because they frame this show at the beginning with him interviewing Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders doesn't break from his message at all.
No, Bernie
In
also
fact,
seemed like he figured out it was
yeah,
bullshit.
Bernie was just like, okay, whatever. You're going to do your little bits, but I'm just going to stick to my talking points.
Yeah.
and-
He kept looking at people like obviously behind the camera, like, what is this? Okay.
Yeah.
Is this
But-
going to be over soon?
But it was like that was just an example of like this is where this doesn't work, and I get that you wanted to lead in with him because he was a good get for you to be able to do a character with, but I don't know. There was nothing really even that funny about that whole exchange. It was just like Bernie. I don't know. I like. If there's stuff to criticize about Bernie Sanders or try and put him on the spot if you have the opportunity. I didn't feel like anything was gained from that sequence.
And then the ex-convict artist thing was so ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
That dude shouldn't have even had a British accent either.
Yeah. Well, and also, I don't understand how the woman, at some point, I'm like, does she really not know, or is she in on this? Like,
How is it possible that these people are actually humoring him as much as the show wants us to believe they are?
Yeah. That's where I start to feel like it's bullshit.
I don't know. I would say it doesn't even matter one way or the other. I thought if she was sitting in front of camera and trying to respect a guy who's coming in there and saying this is his process and this is art, and she doesn't shy away from him using unconventional materials like that, that's not a knock on her. She was being polite.
Well, that's
just
what I'm
like
saying.
the Republican people were being polite
Yeah, but-
when they just entertained the absurdity.
What I'm saying is, if she's a legit gallery, which it looks like a legit gallery, how did he even get the meeting? It doesn't pass the smell test. Like the other two I can sort of believe. I don't understand how he gets to see Bernie Sanders as part of truthberry.org. Like, I feel like all of this shit is somewhat set up.
It is odd.
And that bothers me a little bit too. Like,
You said the gallery lady was being polite. I'm polite to people. I'm very polite to people. I don't pluck my pubic hairs when people ask me to and give them.
that is well
was
beyond the
weird.
standard of polite.
That was
Yeah.
wild.
I think there's certain personalities that do go the whole 9 yards for what they do
I
believe
guess.
in. And here's the thing. If it's that convict or if it's ultimately Sasha Baron Cohen in the costume, she could have seen the creative genius even behind the performance art that he was doing and been, I'm game for giving you pubic hairs because whatever. I see that you are either putting me on or, you know what, you're a unique voice if you're actually trying to make shit art work. I
guess.
Here, have some pubes. I don't give a fuck because I'm not all prissy about that.
The final segment, the one where he's the Israeli anti-terrorism expert, is both the funniest, in my opinion, and the most disturbing of these pieces.
It has the most impact.
Because if the people he gets, those actual politicians, are not somewhat in on the joke, it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
And so I
don't
kind of
know. It's
have to
just-
believe
it's
they're in
just
on the
so
joke.
Comically absurd.
It's so ridiculous that I have to believe there's someone in on the joke, which undercuts the joke.
okay, fair.
I feel like there's two ways this is going. Either he's falsely presenting this as sort of a knocking people down and questioning their reality, or he is actually damaging people by creating these false expectations for whatever their mindset is about the people they're talking to. One or the other, it's either damaging or dishonest, and I'm not there for it, even though it was funny.
His accents are so garbage. His makeup's so garbage that I'm like, maybe there's a couple other characters they're going to present in the second episode that will hopefully look better.
I will never know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that last bit that was the funniest about the gun control.
Yeah.
That one was shared for free on YouTube. So that's probably how I'm going to watch this show.
Yeah.
You know, whatever free clips are shared, but I'm not going to watch this show.
Right. Which is a shame. Like Ollie G, that show.
Ollie G was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and talk about our last show because we need a pick-me-up. We need a show that is just running on all 4, 6, 8 cylinders, depending upon it. We're going to talk about comedians in cars getting coffee, which, believe it or not, 10th season?
6 years running, 10th season.
So, however they're divvying up their seasons with the life of leisure that Jerry Seinfeld lives, he just goes, gets a car for free, drives it to a coffee shop, and pays $3 for coffee and a donut.
You think he
and
pays for those
just
coffee and
films with
donuts?
his friends.
No.
No.
No. At best, his production company pays for it. I watched this when Crackle had it.
Yeah,
When
me too.
Crackle and they and in the first few episodes, it was him talking to like his buddies, Larry David, Ricky Gervais, Brian Regan, Alec Baldwin. I mean, there's a lot of really, really fun stuff where he'd like go hang out with his friends, get a car that he knew they would like. They'd go to some local place, they'd get coffee, and I felt like no harm, no foul. Like Jerry's driving around in cars, fine, that's what he does, and he's going to these local places and giving them exposure. It's basically like free advertising for them, and it's him talking to his buddies. And yeah, it's a little privileged and it's a little rich, and you got to get past that. But it was genuine, and I enjoyed it. The longer it goes on, the less interest I have, and the more it's just Jerry talking to a bunch of rich people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really need to see a couple of rich people going and having coffee. I can see that anywhere, and it's not that interesting.
I agree. Like the somewhat potentially problematic pieces of the show that were there when it started out, when it was on Crackle, before Crackle became, 99% Joe Dirt content.
Yeah.
Like it is now. Those seem to have taken over this show more. Like I find it less funny every season and more just let's hang out. We're privileged. Let's get a brand new, beautiful car or an old, really expensive, unbelievably expensive classic car and go to some hipster coffee joints and talk about nothing and not really do anything of value for our audience.
Yeah, it's a weird. It's like I feel like Netflix did not improve this show.
No. Like I love Kristen Wiig, but I'd never seen her be boring. She was so boring on this show.
The thing I thought, the first episode of the Netflix, this is the first Netflix season, right? This was the first time they'd done the season. I think they grabbed everything, but this was the first thing they did.
Yeah, I think so.
Was, I think, the best one I watched. It's Zach Galifianakis. It's the Volkswagen Thing, which is the repurposed Nazi car.
Sure,
and that was interesting. And it leads into Between Two Ferns. That was an interesting episode.
That's cool.
Right, but
because the format changed.
Because he drops Zach off and he's like, "Hey, come in, I want to show you something." And they walk in and it's the two ferns and Jerry's like, "Oh no." And then it goes into that. And that was funny
because it's another show.
It was funny until Cardi B came in and doesn't know any of her lines and the whole bit was a mess.
No, don't talk bad about Cardi B, bro. She's the shit.
We gonna have a rumble here? I was unimpressed with Zach Galifianakis, with Dave Chappelle. I started watching these episodes and then just going, I need a bigger hook for this to be interesting. So, as luck would have it, right after I started watching a few of these, and I was kind of disappointed with the overall format. I'm like, this is just kind of a bit boring, and like, you guys are just trying to strike up casual conversation. Maybe come in a little bit more prepared, like Sasha Baron Cohen, and script this out a little bit ahead of time. I looked up this ranking that Vulture did. It did all of the episodes ranked in order from best to worst. So I started checking out the top 10 episodes.
Oh, Gary Shandling one's on there, right?
Gary Shandling is number one. And that one was fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There are good episodes of this. And the thing is, as background viewing, like if you put it on while you're doing other stuff, it's perfectly good background viewing. Like you'll see the cars, you'll see the coffee, you'll get snippets of conversation.
But who should invest in a show for background viewing?
Nobody. But here's the thing that I think they could do, that they could have done. Jerry is one of the most successful stand-ups. He's super rich. If he had done a season where he grabbed up-and-coming comedians and drove around with them and talked about the craft of comedy.
Yeah.
Get me what's Hannah from
Gadsby.
Hannah Gadsby. Give me Hannah Gadsby. Give me a bunch of up-and-coming comedians who are like
Chris Cubis,
for example, Austin's own. Get some up-and-coming comedians, drive them around in cars, and talk to them about comedy. You're going to get much more different conversations than the ones you've had with your buddies all over town already.
Yeah. They're going to be amazed by getting a ride in a free car.
In a car instead of a bus.
And like free coffee?
Yeah.
Maybe some pancakes?
We didn't say the coffee's free. Pay up, Chris.
I'm just saying, I feel like that's, if they wanted to keep it fresh and they wanted to do something with it, because it's 10 seasons in, that would have been a formula that would have worked. Like bring in new comedians and use it to promote Netflix's. I don't know if you guys know this, but Netflix drops a comedy special. It seems like every day.
Sure.
So they know some comedians.
They do.
Yeah, it was a mistake. I agree with you that they should have reformatted this, and they really should have invited, the TV dudes. onto an episode.
I'll ride a Ferrari with Jerry.
Here's the question, though: what car would we get? If each of us were given a car, what car would you think you would get?
What car would I think I would get, or what car would I want? That's a different question.
You would get.
Oh, okay.
I don't care about what you want. That's absurd.
Well, what, does he just pick them for you based on what he thinks your personality is?
Yeah.
Jerry?
So based on like the bio he gets for us,
Yeah.
I don't know what car do you get for a comic book owner nerd?
You're gonna get a minivan.
No,
or a
not-
station wagon. You'd
Station
probably get
wagon,
a
maybe.
station
Yeah,
wagon.
you might be right.
A
A
Woody.
station wagon, yeah. Actually, I'd be all right with that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
getting
yeah.
Pee Wee Herman's bike.
I would kind of respect that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grant,
Oh, jeez.
you're getting a minivan.
I would probably.
You're
end up
a
with
dad.
I hate minivans. I'm really actively trying to have to have a minivan. So I'd probably end up in a minivan.
But he's going to get you some weird like 1960s minivan, like the first minivan.
yeah.
Yeah. Mike, what are you going to get?
Mike gets a fucking Lamborghini. we're just looking over from our minivan and station wagon, like, what the fuck?
Well, I was going to say the Batmobile, but you know what? Fuck Batman.
Listener question time.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of singing on this podcast now. Aren't you guys going to do a musical episode soon?
Oh,
Yeah.
no, never. I hate musical episodes of things.
Mike just told us to do it. He's the boss.
Is that how that works?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, or you're fired.
Yeah, when I agree with him, he's the boss.
Son of a bitch. Facebook.com/TV Dudes. Once a week, Randy puts up a question post, and you guys can ask us whatever you want. Hopefully, it's related to what the discussion of topics we're talking about that week, or at least in the realm of TV. That's preferable, folks. But you guys can really ask us whatever.
Yeah, you guys always delete my dick size questions.
It is weird because you keep asking us to check your dick size.
I got the measuring tape.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, like, don't send us the pictures. And please don't send us the videos. Those things are 20 minutes long.
Banana for scale. We get it. We get it, Mike. All right, folks. First question comes to us from Nick Tice.
Just walked right
Yes,
into that shit.
nailed it.
Whoa.
Nailed it.
He says, "Hey dudes, has anyone seen Trial and Error on NBC? I found it hilarious. Why do you think the mockumentary style seems to be such a good fit for comedies?"
I have seen Trial and Error. I love Trial and Error. I've seen the first episode of the second season. It was ATX TV Fest. We're going to talk about it next week with our special guest. What's this? Nick Tice.
Nick, hey Nick, you should just come on our show. Come next week. We'll talk about it because I don't know if you guys heard us mention, but Nick's gonna be in town for the Anime Fest. So if you guys are here in town, you should go check him out at the booth.
But why the mockumentary? He's got a good point. Why is that a good fit for comedies?
Well, I think it provides just a really good structure for joke. It's just a good joke delivery structure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Because you're addressing the audience directly.
exactly.
You
yeah.
can you can step out of the narrative and deliver a joke, and you can do irony. You can undercut what's going on. You can do. It's weird because actually you think about it, it's actually kind of drawing from the reality show, like the camera confessionals,
Like the real world kind of pioneered this.
where they would basically what they would do is create a story out of nothing by doing these confessionals to reframe the narrative. That's kind of what it is. They reframe the narrative and they can add layers to their jokes that way.
You know, now that I think about it, shows like The Office, especially shows like Parks and Rec, which really deployed this device to just great heights. Those are the shows, especially Parks and Rec, where to this day, I connected emotionally with those characters. And what's cool about a device like this is that not only do you see the narrative playing out like a typical sitcom, but with this device, you get to see the certain perspectives of every character laid out. So you really get to see and feel and what their perspective is and what they're thinking. So it allows you to connect better with those characters, and then you get those personalized jokes too.
What's interesting is also it reminds me a little bit of what Arrested Development did with narration, where you can say one thing and then say a different thing. And they did the same thing, but it's like at a different level because you're having the character do one thing interacting with others and then do something else when they're interacting only with the camera.
Well, on the flip side, guys, why do you think a mockumentary style doesn't work so much for dramas?
You know what? Has anyone actually tried it with dramas?
I would say the closest thing was American Vandal, in that it kind of balanced this actual engaging drama of like the mystery whodunit
But that's
thing.
a comedy.
But with the blend of comedy. And I'd say, the problem with mockumentary is that it undercuts tension constantly. So you can't just maintain that as much as you want in a drama.
I bet you could do a drama, though, where you had the camera cutaways and that kind of thing. Because what it does, it lets you delve deeper into inner life. It lets you delve deeper into their thoughts in the way that like novels do. You could bring a different style to a drama, I think. I'd be interested to see it.
There was a show that did try that, and it was didn't that show that was about like millennials meeting up at a 10-year reunion here in Austin. It was here in Austin, and that just tanked. And it was savaged by critics, too. I forgot what it was called.
So you're wrong, Randy. That won't work.
Fair.
Kyle Volte says, "Hey, TV dudes. We all know that watching TV with your family is a time-honored tradition. Whether you all are gathering around to watch something like the Ed Sullivan Show, or the local sports ball game, or perhaps a historic moment like the man landing on the moon."
How old is Kyle Volte?
Yeah, he's an old man.
So what he's saying is, this is a dead time-honored tradition.
Is this like Kenneth from 30 Rock? Kyle, are you immortal?
He goes on to say, "But what were some of the most awkward moments you've had watching TV with a family member?" To which the obvious answer is anytime a sex scene came on during a movie that you were watching with your parents.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's always awkward because everyone had to hide their boners.
I was thinking about this question. I don't know if this was just awkward or weird. My grandparents kept the TV on CBS my entire life growing up with them, and I lived in their house for most of my youth. So the night Twin Peaks premiered was pretty interesting because they had no idea what to make of it. But what was weird was that they kept wanting to watch it because they were compelled by the mystery. But every time, the little person came out and danced or something strange happened, which happens every second on there, they were just like, "What the fuck is happening?" So that was pretty fun.
Jonathan Hupnagel says, "Dear TV dudes, well, I haven't had a proper vacation since around the time of my first question to you last year." Oh boy, Jonathan, go have a vacation. "Christmas was canceled due to someone quitting, and other things just happened." Apparently, I'm going to skim down here a little bit. Just sounds like he has not been able to have a vacation.
Jonathan, come to Austin, meet Nick Thies. He's inviting everybody to his hotel room.
It's going to be a hell of a party.
The Holiday Inn, room 203. Let's go.
It's going to be room 203.
You will feel the embrace of Nick Tice, tea creamy, milky thighs.
Yes.
It's canon now, 203. All right. It says, "So let's talk summer vacation. Hell, you live in Austin, so what would be an amazing vacation spot for me? Do you have any good stories to share from childhood or adulthood? Any amazing trips, destinations, weird tourist trap stories? God, I wish I could afford to travel more. I'd go to Harry Potter Wizarding World." As a PS real quick, Gravity Falls is one big summer vacation of weird. You've got to give it another try. Trust me, it gets better and better.
Jonathan, I appreciate your questions every week. I appreciate you as a listener. I am never going to watch Gravity Falls. You should just accept that. I've watched a handful of episodes. I like it. I'm not going to watch it.
I've watched some here and there, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of good.
It's really good. My kids watched it. I just can't plug into it.
I just haven't started from the beginning. I think that's the problem. I need to start linearly.
My wife likes it. I haven't seen it.
So let's talk about the city of Austin. When people come visit here, do you guys have any recommendations for like places to stay?
All food. Everything I have is food.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah, what are your food recommendations?
Okay, so
barbecue.
You got to go for barbecue. And Franklin, if you have the time to spend like half a day and you want to do like tailgating and wait, it's probably my favorite barbecue in town, but it is like waiting out in the hot sun. It's an experience.
You get there at 9 in the morning or maybe 8.
And you will get to eat at 1 p.m.
Yeah, you're going to wait about 4 to 5 hours, and you want to make sure you bring some lawn chairs with you.
Yep.
Bring a cooler of beer, maybe even extra to share with some friends, and bring an umbrella because the Texas sun is hot.
We brought a card table and a board game and had a great time in line.
Wow.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, make a day of it.
So that's one way. If you don't want to go that route, my secondary recommendation is you go to Terry Black's Barbecue on Guadalupe.
That was
not Guadalupe, Barton Springs.
Barton Springs, yeah, it's fantastic. Almost
really
as good, and
not as long as wait.
Don't have the wait.
And they have cobbler, and they have sides. That's the one thing. Franklin falls down on the sides. Mm-hmm. The sides at Terry Black's are better.
Yeah.
So that's one place I'd recommend. If you want to go a little fancier, Loro, the Japanese smokehouse.
So you just say anything that has Aaron Franklin's name on it.
That's actually true. Mm-hmm. Uchiko, if you want to go super fancy and get sushi type stuff. We've eaten there before with the TV dudes. That's always great.
And at Loro.
Yeah, we did Loro as well. And if you like fried chicken, there are several places. I would point you to Gus's Fried Chicken, which is actually out of, I think, it's out somewhere else in the South. And I think it's great.
So underwhelmed by that.
Really,
place.
I love that place. I love the spice.
I like
and
Lucy's.
Lucy's is the other place I would point you to.
South Congress.
Yeah.
Close by.
Yeah, both
Our
those
neighbors.
are really good. Yeah.
Lucy's.
Or didn't they close the South Congress one?
Uh-oh.
I think they did.
Yeah, there's one on Burnett now.
And if you like tacos and excess, Torchy's.
Yeah.
But it's not super authentic.
Go to the east side and find a fucking taco stand.
Yeah,
those
you'll be
are
much
good.
Yeah, and it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Torchy's is notorious for a great tourist taco because it's going to have something that's accessible for a lot of people, a little bit familiar with extravagant Americanized take on
What Grant is saying is they got good white people tacos there.
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
Yes, they do.
I was trying to dance around it.
But that's accurate. That's accurate. I'll also say, depending on what you're here for, like the Bat Bridge is fun. If it's a thing to
People
go
like
see.
that, yeah.
You can watch the bats. Some people like that.
Not a fan. It
No?
smells like bat shit down there.
Well, that's
it's
true.
really fucking hot in this city. You don't want to go stand under a shitty smelling bridge that's in 104-degree weather. You don't want to do it, guys.
Grant, what brewery should they go to?
Okay, if you want to go check out some breweries, yes, good question. The Mecca of Austin is going to Jester King, which is actually
That's not the Mecca of Austin. It's a Mecca of like an hour south of Austin.
well, it's in Driftwood, but it's actually technically I think in the Austin border.
Okay.
But it's like way south, so you guys have to dedicate some time. Make sure you rent a car, or you're going to spend a lot on an Uber.
Jesus,
but you go out there, and it's this beautiful farm that has a bunch of amazing farmhouse beers, soured beers. They do stuff open house, and it's quite an event. You can get some really good pizza out there as well. I would say other places you want to check out are going to be Pint House Pizza. That might be actually one of my favorite ones here in town.
Yeah.
It's a great. The pizza's all right. I think it's plenty functional.
It's good. It's good.
As pizza.
We got their banh mi pizza the other day. It was quite tasty.
And they always have a great selection of their own brews that they make, as well as rotating taps. I'd say Southern Heights is another good one, and Oddwood Ales, Austin Beer Works. We have a lot of great breweries here.
I think if you want the best pizza in town, you go to our neighbors next door, Home Slice.
Home Slice.
Home Slice is great.
Which Randy just ate like 4 slices of in front of our faces right now.
2 slices.
Home
8
Slice.
slices.
Via 313 is also fantastic. Pius is this place that might actually be in Driftwood, but if you're going out to Jester King, you want to go there and get some cheesecake and get some pastrami and get some of their pizzas.
Is there anything non-eating and drinking that you guys would recommend in Austin?
Yeah, if you come during like the spring, temperate times, not summer, Emma Long Memorial Park is a great hike. There's also water there. It's probably one of the most beautiful parks in Austin, and that's really close by the Natural Gardener, which is a kind of a plant nursery, but it also has some great walking trails, a great meditation trail as well, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Walmart, Starbucks.
Oh, yeah, you definitely want to hit our Walmarts.
Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
You can go to Barton Springs, check out our natural spring. It's pretty cold water, but once you get in there and swim for a few minutes in our Texas heat, it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's true.
It's cool to just go hang out there, go swim, and hang out on the beach. I think it's like $1.50 to go in there.
You can be naked there too.
If you're so inclined, yeah, nudity is.
Wait, what?
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was Hippie Hollow.
No, there too. Barton Springs too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if people are really naked on the inside. There, like if you go right around the corner, outside where the water falls out.
Yeah.
That's where I generally see them.
We're all naked on the inside, Grant.
Yeah, and on the outside, inside of our clothes.
And on the outside right now as we record. It's weird.
Yeah, it's hot in here, though. It was a good call. All right, just a few more questions, guys.
I mean, the Inception sound noise, sound effect.
Ross Brown says, would you ever do an episode on British TV? Oh, wait, hold up. Would you ever do an episode on British TV? I could send you a very long list of good shit. Also, would you have to do an entire episode in your best/worst British accents?
Ross, having heard that accent, what do you think about the idea of a British TV show now?
What is my regionality? I think I'm a chimney sweep. I don't know. I don't know how to do like the posh one.
The posh one.
I do enjoy British TV, along with a bit of Baps and Page 3 backseat slag.
What did you just say? I don't even know. I've seen Sherlock, so I think I've watched enough British TV.
I watched Killing Eve last week. That was BBC America.
You sneaky growler.
Do you just have on hand some terms to just drop?
Yeah, Mike has pulled up the American to British dictionary on his phone.
Get away from me, you nonce.
Oh, boy.
You guys need a bit of the old rumpy pumpy.
What's a rumpy pumpy?
It's the old rumpy pumpy.
Quiet those beef curtains.
That one I know.
I know that one.
No. All right. Last question comes to us from our buddy Jonathan Michael, who says, "Hi, dudes. The Emmy talk from last week reminded me of a random thought from when I watched the new show Superfly. Jennifer Morrison of House and Once Upon a Time fame played a corrupt cop in the movie, and her acting was so wooden I kept thinking, no wonder she stuck to network TV for so long.
Picture her as a cop. Okay.
Are there any TV actors on cable or streaming that feel like their shortcomings in acting skill stick out more?
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
I can't think of why being on network TV would be an insult unless you know they get paid so much more.
Yeah, I mean, but network TV is definitely where I see the guys like Alex O'Loughlin, the guy who's like the lead of Hawaii Five-0, who's led like 4 different shows. That guy's wooden as hell, and I've never understood why he keeps getting leads in shows.
You know why? Maybe.
Yeah.
I interviewed him once when I used to be an entertainment journalist. He's the sweetest man. He is such a nice, fun, ingratiating guy. No pretense to him. And he must
be
oh,
why don't you just have a show?
He must be a joy to work around. That's it.
Okay, all right.
I have an answer for you.
Jerry O'Connell?
Jerry O'Connell.
Well, what was the question? Do we...
TV actors
on cable or streaming that feel like their shortcomings in acting skills stick out. And I couldn't think of anybody in like streaming. But I'm sure there are.
Well, and cable, fucking... 10 seasons of Entourage, Adrian
Grenier, yes.
Fucking terrible. And he's supposed to be the most charismatic person on that show. He's just so bad and wooden. I mean, the guy couldn't even get a bit part in that gaudy biopic that his buddy E directed. You know? No.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah. Oh. They just killed him, but spoilers. Coral from The Walking Dead.
Oh,
Chandler Riggs.
But he's a kid. These kids are never.
I was about to say Sarah Wayne Callie from Walking Dead, who was also in Prison Break and whatever else. It's just... Yeah. I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to get from you here.
Yeah.
Bad actors exist.
I guess that it? Are we done?
There's our answers.
Bad actors exist, folks. It's a sad fact of life, but there's something you can do about it. If you want to help actors get better, you can make a small donation. It doesn't have to be much, but you can go to your local www.patreon.com/tvdudes and make a per episode pledge to the TV Dudes, and we will ensure that you have been curated a list of premium TV shows that you should be watching, so you never have to watch a bad actor again.
Also, we will punish the bad actors with whips and chains.
We do.
I'm in.
We bought Les an outfit.
Yep.
And Mike.
Yep.
No.
Their leather outfits.
Yep.
Connected by chains.
It's kind of a Hellraiser meets Mad Max kind of thing.
And there's a banana for scale if you need it.
I'm into it again.
Mike, thank you so much once again for joining us.
Thank you.
I feel at this point you are an honorary TV dude.
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
And we appreciate you taking the time with us. Anything else you wanted to pimp or whatever?
No, I mean, this was a lot of fun, guys, and I'm looking forward to listening to your episode with Nick Thies. Yes? Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. I was actually trying to get it right.
Yeah, he's related to Tiffany Amber Thies, I think. All right, folks, we are done. And until next week,
TV Dudes out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @tvdudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.